Next up, I want to talk about class fields. So this is a nice shortcut syntax we can use to define fields or properties. We can basically use those interchangeably in a class. So what I've done here in our constructor is take whatever values are passed first and last and add those on to the specific instance of player. And that's what we have to do if we want to accept these dynamic values like blue and steel and store those. Well, we have to wait until the time that we actually create that player to store those. But let's say every player also starts out with a score of 0 and a number of lives of 10. Historically, or well, maybe not historically, traditionally, one option for this is just to do this dot score and just set it to 0 right here in the constructor. And then do the same thing with this dot, what did I say? Num lives. And set that equal to 10. So we're not using any dynamic values coming in from the constructor that are being passed when you instantiate a player. We're only passing through a first and a last. But we're still inside of the constructor setting this dot score and this dot num lives, and that's fine. It's perfectly valid. But there's a nicer syntax we can use now, which looks just like this. Score, so outside of our constructor, score equals 0. Num lives equals 10. And I don't have to reference this. I don't have to do it in the constructor. JavaScript will know what this means. It's a special syntax that says on every instance of player, score should be a property set to 0. Num lives should be a property set to 10. And if we take a look, am I console.logging any players? I am not. Let's just console.log player 1. Just like that. I'll get rid of player 2 for a moment. And what do we see? Player 1 has first of blue, last of steel, num lives is 10, and score is 0. So this nice piece of syntactic sugar, that is class fields, allows us to define these properties without having to go in the constructor, without having to reference this. But it only allows us to add values that are hard-coded. So if we need to be able to pass in a value like first and last when we initialize a new player, we can't use this syntax. But if every player has a score that starts at 0 and a num lives that starts at 10, then this is a great option. And these are not constants or anything. These can change at any point. It's just that they're always going to be initialized to the same value for every player. But I could easily add in a lose life method, lose life, that just subtracts 1 from num lives. So I would do something like this dot num lives minus equals 1. And then, I don't know, we decide if it makes sense to return the number of lives or not. But let's just do this simple implementation. And now, let's take a look. Let's just comment out a lot of this stuff. We'll console.log player1 to start. Maybe just player1.lives or num lives. Num lives. And then we'll console.log that again after calling player1 dot lose life. And we should see it starts at 10 and it goes down to 9. So there's our proof that numLive starts at 10 right there. And then we can change that at any point. It's just the initial value is 10. Same thing for score. So we don't do this dot numLive. Oh, not abort controller numLives. This dot numLives, we don't need to do it in the constructor. We just use this nice syntax right there, usually at the top. And then in the constructor, we can set any of those dynamic values. When we initialize a new player, you pass them in. And then inside of our constructor, we can set them on this dot whatever. This dot first, this dot last, and so on.